I say I'm shooting shots straight to the point just like the podcast. Other teams, they run into my shooters cause we got that. I killed the game and left the court with no condolence. I'm still gonna shoot my shot no matter how big the moment is. She ain't like when J Bess get on that phone. Yeah. You watch it from the TVs in your homes. Yeah. They finna like and sub and leave a comment down below. Yeah.
Yo, it's your boy J Bess, your boy Rell, and your boy Jerrick, and welcome to the Straight to the Point podcast mock draft for 2026. Y'all, the draft is tomorrow, so we're going to let y'all know who we think each team is going to draft in the first round. Before we get into any of that, as always, we want to thank God for waking us up this morning, allowing us to talk about sports, which is something that we love to do, and without him, we would not be here right now. Fellas, y'all ready?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to read off the first pick. Then it's going to go Jerrick, then Rell, then back to me. Okay, we're doing pick 1 through 32, letting you know who we think each team is going to draft. All right, so starting off at number 1, the most obvious pick of the draft, we're going with Fernando Mendoza. All right, this is a need for the Raiders. I don't think they should go Mendoza at number 1. I think they could trade this pick back, let Kirk Cousins play for a year, have a better option next year. But Fernando Mendoza is a Heisman Trophy winner, also a national champion with Indiana, right? A team full of 3 stars, 4 stars, right? So that is some of the clout and some of the hype that he has is that, look, he did it with a lesser team, right? And he took them to the championship, was able to win, also getting a Heisman Trophy at that. So this is a guy that might not start the full year. I think Kirk Cousins will start it off, but at some point he might get in there, and hey, we're going to see what happens. I don't think he's a Joe Burrow or a Kyler Murray or a Caleb Williams, the other guys that went number 1 in recent drafts, but we're going to see what happens. But it is basically penciled in since day one that they will go Fernando Mendoza at number 1. All right, so Jerrick, let us know who the Jets are getting at number 2.
At pick number 2, the New York Jets are going to go Arvell Reese, edge rusher out of Ohio State. Arvell Reese is 6'4", 241. He's honestly, he's somebody you can move all around. He runs a 4.46. He's very athletic, very mobile. But this is a guy who we saw him play a little bit of inside and edge at Ohio State. He's kind of like the Michael Parsons situation. Michael Parsons played a lot of inside and less edge at Penn State, and we saw Arvell Reese do the same. But also another thing about Arvell Reese is he played in a similar NFL-style defense because if y'all know, Matt Patricia is now the defense coordinator at Ohio State. So being able to play under Matt Patricia for a season or 2, probably just 1 season playing under Matt Patricia, I'm pretty sure he learned a lot about the NFL. And I think that he would be easy to implement into this Jets defense for next year.
So I think the Cardinals will be a candidate to trade back, but if they were to choose right here, I have them taking David Bailey, number 3 overall. You talk about David Bailey, just an absolute monster. I feel like he's the most NFL-ready pass rusher now. I feel like you'll get the most out of him year 1. Talk about an elite edge rusher. Last year gave you 19.5 tackles for loss and 14.5 sacks, which led all of college football. And then if you want to say he went to a weaker conference, his past 3 years before that, he played at Stanford and got 22 tackles for loss and 14.5 sacks. So it just goes to prove that he's just dominant everywhere he goes. And the Cardinals really need a game changer right here at number 3. Why not add to your defense, give Budda Baker his best start that he's had? And I feel like David Bailey can honestly give you at least 10.5 sacks for the next 5 years, for sure.
At number 4, the Tennessee Titans, we have them getting Sonny Styles, all right, linebacker out of Ohio State. Look, Sonny Styles is 6'5", 244, and middle linebacker. That sells me right there. He's bigger than Fred Warner, right? And he can also move as well, just like Fred Warner. And that's actually one of the pro comps that I've heard that he had is Fred Warner. So I think that the Titans, look, you can't name 5 good players on this Titans team. So I don't think it makes sense for them to go Jeremiah Love here. I think it makes a lot of sense for them to add a guy who can be immediately impactful on that defense and make up for a lot of mistakes that they can make in the run game. He can be there to fill those gaps, right? He can also move in the pass game and help out with the pass coverage as well. This guy was a first-team All-Big Ten player, led the team with 82 tackles, started all 14 games, so he's available. 6.5 tackles for loss with a sack, an interception, 3 PBUs, and a forced fumble. He was also a team captain at Ohio State. So to me, this guy is ready for the NFL. I think he is like a plug-and-play day one kind of guy, especially on a team that does not have stars defensively outside of Jeffrey Simmons, right? Outside of that, you really don't have anybody else that's making plays on that defense. So why not add a guy to your second level and get better in the run and a little bit in the pass, all right?
Number 5 with the New York Giants, we have them selecting Jeremiah Love. I think that whenever you say that the Titans pass up on Jeremiah Love, this is a guy you cannot let him fall as far as the draft. This is a running back who's coming off of 2 back-to-back consecutive 1,000-yard rushing seasons, which is crazy. And mind y'all, his sophomore year, he was a big driving factor of the team that went to the national championship and lost to Ohio State. This is a guy, he can do everything. He can not only do it on the ground, but he can also do it in the air. And this is something that you can kind of pair with Cam Scatterboo, because Cam Scatterboo, he's not a every down back. He's not a third down back either. He's really just a guy, short yardage, you need a little 1 or 2 yards, he's a power back. So being able to add Jeremiah Love to this roster, because a lot of people are also going to say, well, if they're going offense, why not go wide receiver? A good run game also helps out with wide receiver, with your pass game, I should say. We know Malik Neighbors will be back. We don't know how good Malik Neighbors will look. So to be able to have somebody you can just hand the ball off to, but you can also create plays out of the backfield, kind of like what we see Miami do for Devon Achane. At times, Devon Achane was their number one pass catcher because of what he can do after the catch. So we have the New York Giants taking Jeremiah Love at pick number 5.
And number 6 overall, I have the Cleveland Browns selecting Francis Mariagana, left tackle out of Miami. This guy's the best left tackle in football, and the Cleveland Browns need a real cornerstone and a real centerpiece to move that franchise in the right direction. This is going to be the best left tackle they've had since Joe Thomas. I honestly think this is a future all-pro selection. Francis is 6'6", 315, and my favorite thing about him is him and Ruben Bain been going at each other, trying to get each other better for the last 3 years in practice. So I know this guy's going to be a dog, and on top of that, you need somebody that can protect Shedeur Sanders. You need somebody that's going to protect Deshaun Watson. Whoever's going to be your quarterback next year, you got to start by protecting them, and this is going to be a great start.
All right, we like it. Number 7, we're going with the Commanders getting Ruben Bain, edge rusher out of Miami. I do think that with Dan Quinn being a defensive-minded coach, he will go defense here. And I do think that they need an edge rusher, right? This offseason, they added Clavon Chasen, who had a breakout season for the Patriots. Now you add another pass rusher who could be an elite pass rusher, Ruben Bain. The defense last year was bottom 5 in passing yards allowed per game. You can fix that with edge rushers, right? You don't necessarily have to go DB. You can go edge rusher and get a guy that can get after the quarterback and help your secondary out. Ruben Bain was an ACC Defensive Player of the Year, first team All ACC. Also a finalist for the Lot Impact Award. That's the nation's top defender. And then he also started all 16 games. Once again, availability, right? That's the best ability. Guys that can play full seasons, that's who I want on my team at least. 54 tackles, 15.5 tackles for loss, with 9.5 sacks, an interception, a PBU, and a forced fumble. He's a guy that can immediately impact this defense, who, if you look around, they don't really have those playmakers out there. So adding an edge rusher to help on that D-line, to me, will help a lot with his Commanders defense.
And number 8, we have Rell's team go ahead and getting their future quarterback, their franchise quarterback, a wide receiver number 2. And we're going to got them getting Cardinal Tate, wide receiver at Ohio State. He stands at a 6'2" frame. Now there has been a lot of questions on his speed because he did run a 4.5 at the combine, which a lot of receivers nowadays are 4.4s. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's completely different when he puts on his pads. This kid, he's smooth. He's very fluid. He's almost a guy that I would compare to like a Devontae Adams type. Like he's very route savvy. Like he can run any route on the route tree, and he's just very, very good. This is a guy who, in his sophomore season, the year that Ohio State won the national championship, with Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka, this guy had 733 receiving yards on the year and 4 touchdowns. And in this past season, being wide receiver number 2, he had 875 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns. He only played 11 games. If he played all of his games, he would have been a 1,000-yard receiver and would have had a lot more touchdowns. So this is a guy that, and also they had a first-time freshman QB back there. So I'm pretty sure that Tyler Shuck will be able to make this work. This is a guy, he is one of the last pieces from the Brian Hartline wide receiver tree, which includes guys like Marvin Harrison Jr., Chris Olave, who's already on the Saints, Jackson Smith-Njigba, who we just saw have a breakout year, and Garrett Wilson up in New York. So this is a guy that the Saints definitely want to take to make Tyler Shuck's life a lot easier going forward.
That boy excited up there, ain't he? That boy excited for tomorrow.
Okay, Jerry. That boy Jerry no ball. Okay. I like that, New Orleans. I like that. I think if you guys do that, you guys could most definitely have a top 5 receiving duo in the next 2 years. I like that. Moving on to pick number 9, Kansas City Chiefs. You got to get a game changer right here. Just traded away some key pieces. I have them going Mansour Delane, defensive back out of LSU. This kid is an absolute freak, dog. Interesting stat. He allowed 10 catches for 119 yards all last season. Literally crickets. It was crickets whenever he came to this side of the field. Like, he wasn't allowing nothing all year. 10 catches in 10 games is absolutely ridiculous. This kid is going to be an absolute stud in the NFL. Guaranteed all-pro corner. You talk about the Chiefs, and they know how to draft corners. Like, one thing they don't trip about is paying corners, because they'll push you out the door and draft another one real quickly. You talk about past DBs they drafted high. Eric Berry, 4th overall. Marcus Peters, 18th overall. Trent McDuffie, 21st overall. All of these guys, all pro corners. It won't be no different right here with Mansour Delane.
I like that. All right. Number 10, y'all. So over the weekend, we actually made a mock draft video on Friday, right? But the very next day, the Giants made the blockbuster trade, sending Dexter Lawrence to the Bengals for the 10th pick, right? So this pick was the Bengals. Now it belongs to the Giants. And we believe that the Giants will get arguably one of the best players in the draft in Caleb Downs, safety out of Ohio State. The reason why we have Downs at number 10 and the reason why I co-signed Jeremiah Love going number 5 is because we think Downs can fall, right? Over the past couple of years, we've seen these very talented safeties like Malachi Starks out of Georgia. He went pick 27. Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame, he went 14. Derwin James out of Florida State went 17, right? So these safeties are not going high in the draft, but if the Giants can get Caleb Downs at number 10, they have to pull the trigger. This guy is making immediate impact. Now, I know there's concerns about the ACL and everything like that, but this is a kind of risky, but it's a very high reward because we all agree that he has one of the biggest upsides in this year's draft and he can make immediate impact. Also, they might have the best or one of the best safety duos if they do get Caleb Downs, because they'll have Javon Holland with Caleb Downs. You have Brian Burns and Abdul Carter on that D line. You added Greg Newsome to this cornerback room. You added Tremaine Edmonds. Like, I'm seeing some playmakers in this defense, and I think that this is the best route to go if you are the Giants. Hopefully, Downs do fall.
11, we have the Miami Dolphins take Caden Proctor, offensive tackle from Alabama. If y'all do recall, over this past offseason, the Miami Dolphins did just basically make Malik Willis their next franchise quarterback, or at least hoping that he'll be a next franchise quarterback. And in order to get the best out of him, because we haven't seen his full potential yet, we haven't seen what he looks like as a real true QB1, you need to protect him. And a way to do that is by getting Caden Proctor. Caden Proctor is a guy, he is 6'6", and he runs a 5'2", guys. 6'6" running a 5'2". That is scary. Okay, this is a guy who was first team All SEC, and this is a guy who we also saw Alabama give the ball to sometimes. Like I don't. So this is a guy who he's a football player. There's certain guys in this draft that they're good at their position, but there's also certain guys that they're football players. And being able to get a good football player this high in the draft, really getting your offensive tackle, that's one of the most important positions, because you have guys in the league like Myles Garrett, you have guys in the league like TJ Watt, and these are guys that make your quarterback's life literally bad. So for them to get Caden Proctor at this pick to protect Malik Willis, we all love this right there.
At number 12, I have the Dallas Cowboys adding to that secondary and replacing Trayvon Diggs and drafting Gerard McCoy, defensive back out of the University of Tennessee. This is a guy who got hurt at the end of last season, 2025 season, and we haven't seen him play all last year. But if he didn't get hurt, he was a guaranteed top 5 pick. This kid is fluid in his game, one of the best cover corners in this draft. Last year, before he got hurt, he had 4 INTs, 9 PBUs, and just an absolute animal. The reason I have Dallas getting him right here is Jerry Jones isn't scared to pick a hurt player very high. We saw him do it a couple years ago, and Jalen Smith, he drafted Jalen Smith, who just came off a torn ACL, 34th overall. I don't see Jerry Jones making any change right here. He loves a talented player. He's going to go get him. Gerard McCoy, just turn on the tape. I will say that 3 times in a row. This guy is going to shut down teams' number 1 players on Sundays. And then you talk about a division that has Terry McLaurin in it. Talk about it has A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith in it, and Malik Neighbors. You got to have some guys that could cover. So I think this would be an amazing pick to start off that defense.
And number 13, we're going with the LA Rams getting Jordan Tyson. Y'all, Jordan Tyson's stock has shot through the roof since that workout video came out a couple of days ago. This is a guy his biggest concern is his health. right? His hamstrings, injuries that he's been dealing with throughout his college career. But the upside is there. This is a guy who was first team All Big 12. He led the team with 61 catches for 711 yards. That is 12 yards per pop. Just to let y'all know. 8 receiving touchdowns, and he only started 9 games. So that's where the injury concern kind of comes in. He missed 4 with separate hamstring injuries. So not just one hamstring injury, but another one, right? But in this past season, he had 4 100-yard games. Jeremiah Smith, who everyone's saying is going to be the next big thing come out of college next year, he had 4 100-yard games. Carnell Tate, who is the best receiver in the draft this year, had 4 100-yard games. So he's giving you similar production. He just didn't play as many games as those guys. One of the biggest flexes that he has, one of the biggest perks that he had in college is his receiver coach was Hines Ward, former Steelers wide receiver, right, a while ago. So that to me is he already has a feel for the NFL because you have a NFL maybe Hall of Fame, right, Jerrick? Maybe one day Hall of Famer.
One day.
Maybe future Hall of Famer and Hines Ward by your side. So, hey, I love Jordan Tyson. This year against Texas Tech, he had a crazy game. And he actually got hurt in this game. And against Texas Tech, he had 10 catches for 105 and a touchdown. In the same game he got hurt in, he still was able to play through the injury and put up numbers like that. So I think the Rams are just going to say, look, we're going all in for this Super Bowl. We already addressed the defense in the offseason. We got Trent McDuffie. We got Jalen Watson for the secondary. We already have Jared Verse. We got Byron Young. We got these guys that can make plays on defense. Offensively, let's just be unstoppable. We have Puka. We got Devontae. Add Jordan Tyson in there, and Jordan Tyson will be the replacement of Devontae Adams once he retires or once he leaves, right? So you're going to have Puka and Jordan Tyson for a long time. I think this is the best move that the Rams could possibly make here at number 13.
14, we have the Baltimore Ravens selecting Spencer Fanu, offensive lineman out of Utah. This kid's 6'5", 311. He runs a 4.9, guys. And this is a guy who he's going to be their key in getting this offensive line, this offense back to where it was. He's going to help you in the run game. He's going to help you in the pass game. This kid, he was a first-team All-American this past season. He won the Outland trophies for the nation's top interior lineman. Mind you, this kid played tackle, but this is a kid who also played guard, and he can even play center if you need him to. He took snaps at the combine just to show how versatile he is to help improve his draft stock. And we think that this team, with needing a replacement for Tyler Lindenbaum, who went to the Raiders this past offseason, whose guard play was very shaky this past season, this is a guy you can put at center, you can put him at guard, or you can even put him at tackle if you want to. You can put him anywhere in the offensive line. He's ready to work, and he's going to give you great production immediately. NFL-ready guy.
All right, next up, number 15, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers getting who, Rell?
Yes, sir. I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers getting the mismatch nightmare from Oregon. Kenyon Sadiq, tight end from Oregon, 6'3", 241, 4'3", 40, 38-inch vert, both tight end records at the combine. This kid is going to be the truth. 51 receptions last year, 560 yards, and 8 touchdowns, pairing him next to Baker Mayfield on top of Emeka Egbuka and Chris Godwin. This gives you one of the best receiving trios in the league. This kid is elite. He's very, very fast, and he plays 4-3-9. He plays like it. I said mismatch nightmare earlier. The reason I said that is because he's going to be way too fast for linebackers, and he's going to be way too big for DBs. So this kid is going to be an absolute scare in the league. So good luck anyone going against Tampa.
Your Saints are going against Tampa, so good luck. Good luck to y'all.
I said that for mock draft purposes, boy.
Okay, all right, you're right.
Belt him. Watch.
You're right. All right. Number 16, the New York Jets are back on the clock, and we think they're going to continue to add to this defense that was just poor last year. One thing about this defense is they had no interceptions, none, 0 turnovers when the ball was in the air. That is embarrassing, right? And with Aaron Glenn being a defensive-minded coach, you can't be okay with that, right? You have to go defense in this draft. Colton Hood is what we think they're going to get at number 16. He ran a 4.4. He was third team all SEC, and he started 12 games, 50 tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss. He had a pick 6, and he had 8 PBUs and a forced fumble. One thing about this Jets defense is not only was the pass game bad, but it was bottom 4 in run defense, right? This is a guy who does not mind getting his hands dirty and getting involved in the run game. It is noted that he plays with box safety, physicality, and coverage and run support. He's also a run defense wired, like he's wired for the run defense. And he also is above average stopping bigger backs. Right. So this is a guy that doesn't mind putting his head down. And that's kind of hard to find in the NFL. Like, you can't really find a lot of corners that are willing to put their head down and go make a tackle. Right. So I think that it's perfect, not only coverage wise, but also to help them run for Aaron Glenn in this defense. So I got Colton Hood coming out of University of Tennessee. Sorry, I forgot to mention that.
At 17, we have Detroit getting Monroe Freeland, a 6'7" tackle out of Georgia. This is a guy, once again, another very athletic offensive lineman. He runs a 4.93, and this is a kid who he was second team all SEC this year. He played 13 games at left tackle, and if y'all do recall, Taylor Decker did retire for the Detroit Lions. So Detroit Lions are now moving Penei Sewell to the other tackle spot, and so drafting Monroe Freeland, it just makes sense. It's the logical thing to do, especially whenever you're expecting a big year out of Jahmyr Gibbs this year. This is a guy who he can not only pass and protect Jared Goff, but he can get out and get to the next level when it comes to the run game. This is a guy who he played the whole entire season dealing with an ankle injury. Like, his ankle was hurt, and he's still out there playing all these games, still got second team all SEC. So we think that when it comes to Detroit, that mentality they have up there, we know how people are in Detroit. We know how their fan base are. We know their team culture. We know what Dan Campbell looks for in his players. So a guy that can just grind through injury and still play a full season and still manage to be very productive, we think that that's who Detroit Lions will take to be their next starting tackle.
All right, big need for Detroit. Number 18, Rell, who is Minnesota going with?
Yes, sir. Minnesota will be going with Peter Woods, defensive tackle from Clemson University. This guy, if I compare him to anybody in the league, Dexter Lawrence. I'm just going to absolutely blow up every single play. As soon as you say Hut, he's the first guy off the ball. He would have been a top 5 pick if he would have came out last year. He would have been too young. Stayed an extra year. At Clemson, the stats were 14.5 tackles for loss, 5 sacks as a defensive tackle, 2 forced fumbles, and a pass deflection. He's going to help out every single where on the Vikings defense, and the Vikings are very, very thin on the D-line. Another reason I feel like they didn't make any moves in free agency is because they had their eyes set on Peter Woods.
Number 19, we have Mekhi Lemon, receiver out of USC. One quote that I want to read real quick is from the Panthers GM, and this let me know that they can definitely go receiver in the first round this year. The Panthers GM said that he doesn't see a rule that says that he cannot get a receiver 3 straight years in the first round. That is the quote that is from their GM. So that lets me know that he does not mind pulling the trigger on Mekhi after he drafted Tet last year and Xavier Legette the year before, right? So I think he'll definitely follow through on that. Mekhi Lemon won the Biletnikoff Award, nation's top receiver. For those of y'all that don't know what that award is, he was also first team All Big Ten Conference. He was named the Polynesian College Football Co-Player of the Year. He ranked 8th in the FBS with 1,156 receiving yards. He had 79 receptions. That is 15 yards per catch. He was tied for 9th with 11 touchdowns and started 12 games. This is a guy that we talk about, guys that can get open, right? That's crazy impressive. But this guy, after he gets the ball in his hands, you can't bring him down. Like, that is the biggest flex of Mekhi Lemon. Like he is a great route runner, just like Jordan Tyson, just like Cardinal Tate. But after he gets the ball in his hands, good luck tackling him, right? And this is a guy that you can play anywhere on the field. So imagine Bryce Young, who we see emerging and getting better every year. Imagine him with Tet, Jalen Coker, and Mekhi Lemon, right? And Xavier Legette as well. You have 4 solid receivers, 1 receiver that won Rookie of the Year last year, and a potential Rookie of the Year candidate in Mekhi Lemon. Sorry. So, hey, I love this move for the Panthers, and their GM said he don't mind doing it. So why wouldn't he do it, especially if Mekhi falls to number 19?
At number 20, we have Dallas standing on defensive track to get that side of the ball better. We have him going C.J. Allen, linebacker out of Georgia. C.J. Allen, this is a guy. He's a football savant. He's one of those guys that he just knows the game in and out. He knows what's going to happen before it happens. In his time at Georgia, the defensive coordinator, of course, he had the green dot. The defensive coordinator would let him just call the defense sometimes. There's some games where he would just let C.J. Allen have the full reign, and we know how good Georgia's defense is. So it's not like he gave him full reign to call defensive plays and it didn't work. No, it worked. This is a guy, he was a first-team All-American player, first-team All-SEC. He was a finalist for the Buckets Award, which is an award to the nation's top linebacker. And this is a guy who had 88 tackles, 8 tackles for a loss, 3.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. So this is a guy, he's just a playmaker. And I think that this is exactly what Dallas needs, a guy that can command the defense, call the defense, and just be that physical guy in the middle of the defense, which is very, very important.
At pick number 21, I got the Steelers drafting quarterback from Alabama, Ty Simpson. I'm trolling. Nah, I actually got the look at Jared. That boy ready to walk out. But nah, I got the Steelers making an amazing pick right here. Actually, future All Pro. Hear me out. I got the Steelers drafting Olavega Ione, guard out of Penn State, 6'4", 320 pounds. This past year, gave us 87 PFF grade, 0 sacks allowed in 11 games played, and only 4 pressures with 1 penalty. This kid knows how to ball, and he knows how to protect his QB. And that's exactly what Pittsburgh needs. We look at Pittsburgh, we don't see a lot of holes. Last year, you could say they didn't have any offensive weapons. Oh, well, they added Michael Pittman. Good luck stopping DK Metcalf and Michael Pittman. You look at the defense, we know exactly what the defense is going to give us. If Aaron Rodgers can return on the offensive side of the ball, the only spot the Pittsburgh Steelers are lacking is this offensive lineman position. And if you add this future all-pro guard right here, I think the Steelers can easily win this division. I think they're easily a way better team than they were last year. Easily. Because this guy right here is going to shore up that offensive line. You're going to run the ball like you want to run the ball, and you're going to be able to throw the ball like you want to throw the ball because now you got time.
I like that. I like those words. He said division winners. I like that. I love it. All right. Next up, we got the LA Chargers, man, at number 22. I think we're going to get Kendrick Falk, edge rusher out of Auburn, y'all. He is 6'6", runs a 4.6, had 20 tackles for loss, 10 sacks, and he's only 21 years old. We think that this is going to be not necessarily day one starter because they have 2 edge rushers. They have Khalil Mack and they have Jerrick's boy. I cannot pronounce his name. Some Samoan on the other side.
TJ, like two, it's something.
Yeah. So they have 2 backs. He's a dog too. So they have 2 edge rushers right now, but Khalil Mack is older. Khalil Mack missed games last year with injury. So I think that Kendrick Falk might not be a day one starter, but he can be a guy that is subbed in rotation, right? But once Khalil leaves, they have a plug and play guy that can step in and make great impact. And he's young too, so that kind of helps with the mindset of, okay, you might not play a lot right now, but once Khalil Mack is gone, you're the guy. He's only 21 years old, right? So I think that this is definitely the move for the Chargers to make. Offensively, people will say go offensive line, but their 2 starting tackles was hurt last year. So we can only assume that once they come back, once Joe Alt come back and Rashawn Slater come back, their O-line is going to be just fine. So I do think they go defense and add to this edge rushing crew. Potential future replacement for Khalil Mack.
At 23, we have Philly selecting Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, safety out of Toledo. This is a guy, he's a 6'3" safety. This kid runs a 4.5, so that means he can go from sideline to sideline. And I know a lot of people are thinking, with A.J. Brown being basically confirmed to be gone, why wouldn't they go wide receiver? We've seen Howie Roseman in the past. He loves taking defensive players early because he knows that defensive side of the ball is very, very important. With them losing Reed Blankenship to Houston, it's going to be very important that they do fill in that hole that they do have at safety. And we know that this wide receiver draft class is very deep. So we can see them getting a wide receiver later on in the draft. And also they did make 2 additions to wide receiver this past offseason, getting Dontavius Wicks out of, I want to say he came from Green Bay, and then getting Hollywood Brown from the Chiefs. So we do think that they're going to make it a priority to fill in that safety spot and basically get a wide receiver later on in the draft. So we have him getting Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. He's a guy, safety. He makes a lot of plays. He'll come downhill, make a tackle. He forced 9 fumbles in his career. So he's a guy who can just change the course of the game.
So I got the Cleveland Browns getting Shedeur Sanders or Deshaun Watson, their next playmaker. Casey Conception, wideout from Texas A&M. You talk about this guy, Casey Conception, dog. I heard you come out the other day and you talked about your stuttering problem. I don't know if you guys ever noticed. I kind of talk a little bit too fast and I sometimes get tripped up over my words, just like Casey Conception. So I love how he came out and he spoke on exactly what he had to say. And I just want to say you politics your way exactly into the first round. And I'm hoping you go top 10, bro, honestly. But you're just an absolute dog. And looking back on what you did in your college days, looking back to your freshman year, you had 71 receptions for 839 yards and 10 touchdowns. That's this kid in his freshman year. He hopped on a freshman year, his freshman campus, 18 years old, with a clear mind, ready to come play football, ready to come hoop. moving on to a bigger conference. A lot of people might say, "Hey, he was in a small conference. Let's see what he does in a bigger conference." Moves up to Texas A&M, has 61 receptions, 919 yards, and 9 touchdowns. This kid is the real truth. He's the legit truth. Only 21 years old, and hey, man, why not? The Cleveland Browns, you need a superstar playmaker. You need a guy that's going to make Shadur Sanders' life easy. You need a guy that's going to make Deshaun Watson's job easy. You need a guy that you could go to on third down, go to on big plays. You got him right now. Hey, really, really good pick right here. I can see him being a Pro Bowler 1,000%. 1,000%.
All right, number 25, we got the Chicago Bears going with Akeem Messidor, all right, the other edge rusher out of Miami who played with Ruben Bain. This guy was first team All ACC, tied for third in the FBS with 12.5 sacks, and he was tied for fifth with 17.5 tackles for loss, tied for sixth in 4 forced fumbles, and started 15 games this year, 63 tackles. So you're telling me this is a guy that was top 6 in forced fumbles, tackles for loss, and sacks. Why in the world wouldn't the Bears go and pull this trigger at pick number 25? Last year, the Bears was tied with the Bengals and the Cowboys for sacks. Those are two of the worst defenses in the league, right? So you definitely don't want to be in any conversation with them when it comes to sacks. This is why the Bears was in conversations for Max Crosby, right? But the Bears cannot pull that off. They couldn't pull the trade off. So why not go and get an edge rusher here at pick number 25 to help that defense out? Because I think offensively you're good. Caleb Williams, I know you lost DJ Moore. You can get another receiver later on in the draft, right? You don't got to really address that right now. But I do think that they should definitely go with Akeem Messidor at pick 25 to help Montez Sweat on that defense and get to the quarterback. All right.
At pick 26, we have the Buffalo Bills selecting Omar Cooper Jr., wide receiver out of Indiana. He stands at 6 foot. He runs a 4.42. Let's just be honest. This is a team who is now Joe Brady, their offensive coordinator from last year, is now the head coach. And I'm pretty sure that he wants to make sure that his guy, Josh Allen, has all the tools necessary to be successful. And I think that them going wide receiver right here makes sense. Omar Cooper Jr., this is a guy who we talk about the number 1 overall pick, Fernando Mendoza. Well, who's he throwing the ball to? This guy right here. This is a guy who led the team. He this past season, he had 69 receptions for 937 receiving yards, playing all 16 games. So this is a guy who he's going to be there on the field for you. And I think that honestly, we're seeing Keon Coleman. He's on his last leg. He's on he's on thin ice basically. And when you look around, yes, they have Khalil Shakir. Yes, they have other targets, but he doesn't have a guy. And we think that if this guy was a guy for Fernando Mendoza in Indiana, he can become a guy for Josh Allen in Buffalo. And even if he's not just true wide receiver number 1, he's going to give you production. He's going to make this wide receiver core immediately better. So we have them taking Omar Cooper Jr. at pick 26.
Next, I have the 49ers drafting Dylan Thymons, safety out of Oregon. This kid is just an absolute animal. And we talk about the value the safety position holds in the NFL. J Bess said it earlier, Caleb Downs, Derwin James, Kyle Hamilton, Nick Amiri Jr. You need a safety in order to win on defense. It's a very important position. This guy runs a 4.35 40, 41-inch vertical, and put up 18 reps at the bench combine. So this kid is a big player. Let me just read some stats over his college career. 210 tackles, 6 INTs, 8 PBUs, and 2 forced fumbles. So this guy knows how to take the ball away, and he knows how to play the run game. I think it'll be a very, very good pick for the 49ers. You need a playmaker back there alongside Fred Warner. Hey, why not go get this guy from Dylan Thymons who played on the championship defense?
He ran a 4.35. Sheesh.
Yeah.
Sheesh. Pick 28 with the Houston Texans. I think they're going to continue to build this offensive line. Max, and I got his last name pronunciation right here. Max Ihaunuchor. Max Ihaunuchor out of Arizona State. He plays tackle. This is a guy that is known for his run blocking. What did the Texans just do? They added David Montgomery, right? They also added Wyatt Teller. They also added Braden Smith, right? So they've been upgrading this O-line and the running back room this offseason. Why not continue that trend and add a guy that is good blocking, right? This is, guys, he was second team all Big 12. He was second team in the Big 12 conference, right? Started 12 games at right tackle. And one thing that has been noted about him is he has basketball feet that mirrors rushers and off-ball linebackers, right? So this is a guy that can move. Once again, he runs a 4.91. That is, I don't know if y'all know, but a guy this big running a 4.91 is pretty darn impressive, right? So this is a guy that can get to that second level, help in the run game. He also displayed his potential against dynamic rush duo from Texas Tech. So when they played David Bailey this year, he actually had a good game. So y'all can check that tape out if y'all want. But I do think the Texans will continue the trend and hit at O-line. Pick 29, Jerrick, what is your boy, my homie, going to do at pick 29?
I think that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to help him out by adding to his defense. And I think that they're going to take Zion Young, edge rusher out of Missouri. This is a guy, he's a 6'5". That's like 6'5" edge rusher. Take him any day. We know how good Steve Spagnuolo is of a defensive coordinator. And this will now allow Chris Jones to go back to his natural position where he dominates at being the sole defensive tackle, because they do have George Kalafis as the other edge rusher. And we see at times where they will move Chris Jones from inside to outside. And I think that outside, yes, Chris Jones can be dominant anywhere, but I think he's way more effective inside, especially when it comes to stopping the run game. And I think that adding this kid Zion Young, like I said, he has a long frame. This is a guy who was first team All SEC. He has 16.5 tackles for a loss, 6.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, starting all 13 games. So this is a guy, he's just a football player. He's pretty good. And being able to do it in the SEC, this is where you're going against a lot of the top offensive line talent that we see coming into the draft over the course of every single season. So I think that them go ahead and adding this to their defense will allow this defense to be a lot more improved, especially drafting Mansour Delaney at number 9 from LSU. So adding a corner back there and adding something to your pass rush, that's going to make things a lot easier for Patrick Mahomes when it comes to making your defense better.
Number 30, Rell, who we got Miami drafting?
Yes, sir. I got Miami drafting Denzel Boston, wide receiver out of Washington. This will be their Jalen Waddle replacement right here. 6'3", 205, 35-inch vertical. Denzel Boston over the past 2 years put up 1,700 yards for 20 touchdowns. This is the exact guy you need Malik Willis to build your offense around. So earlier we had Malik Willis drafting the left tackle. I mean, and right now we got him drafting the receiver because you got to invest in your investment, man.
At pick number 31, the Patriots, we do have them adding to that defense. Once again, they just lost Clavon Chasen, who I said went to the Commanders. So we think they're going to add to that pass rush to help Harold Landry, going with Mason Thomas out of OU. Mason Thomas out of OU. This guy was first team All SEC. He started 10 games, 26 tackles, 9.5 tackles for loss, and 6.5 sacks, a PBU, 2 forced fumbles, and a safety. All right. He did miss 3 games this year. He hurt his leg on a scoop and score touchdown versus Tennessee. Look, like I said, Mike Vrabel, we know what he likes: a good defense and a good run game. You lost Clavon Chasen, who had a breakout year. You add this guy in to help with Harold Landry on the edge rushing with Milton Williams in the middle of that defensive line. I think this is the move to go. This is the guy that also ran a 4.6 in the combine. So speed off the edge is a need in today's NFL, especially when it's very pass heavy and these quarterbacks can run. They can scramble, right? You need a guy that can chase down QBs. So I love it. Mason Thomas going 31 to the Patriots. And last but not least, Jerrick goes in the mock draft with pick number 32 from the Super Bowl champs, Seattle Seahawks. Who they getting?
At pick 32, we have the Seattle Seahawks taking Chris Johnson, a corner out of San Diego State. I know I may be saying San Diego State. Why would they do that? This is a guy, he was second team All-American this past season. He's 6 foot. He runs a 4.4. That's not, jump off the, that doesn't really speak great volumes because, we have a lot of corners around 4.2s, 4.3s now. But this guy, he's very technique savvy. And a lot of times in college corners, we see that they have to be developed because they just rely on their natural athletic ability. But this is a guy, he's a little bit kind of undersized in some ways, but he uses his technique to be able to stay in front of receivers. He's a guy, he's not afraid to come downhill and make tackles. And this is just a guy that he can add to that very scary defense that we saw in Seattle that was able to dominate in that Super Bowl, and that led to them being the Super Bowl champions. But it is good to be on notice that the Seattle Seahawks are on record of saying that they can potentially trade out of the first round because they have the least amount of draft picks this year with 4 in the whole draft. They might trade out of the first round to get later compensation. So that is something to look out for. But if they do take somebody at 32, we think that them taking Chris Johnson, cornerback out of San Diego, would be the best fit for this team.
And that is the end of our mock draft, y'all. That is our first round, pick 1 through 32 for all teams. Once again, y'all, the draft does come on tomorrow night, so make sure y'all got y'all popcorn ready because it's time to see these future stars walk on the stage and get their jerseys and make impacts on their future teams. All right, but that's it from your boy J Bess, your boy Rell, and your boy Jerrick. We will catch y'all next time on the Straight to the Point podcast. Check all my social media accounts at the bottom of the screen. All right, for daily sports content. But much love. Y'all stay blessed. We out.
Yo, they feeling like in 7, leave a comment down below. Yo.